And law enforcement is on high alert ahead of Inauguration Day, but protecting D.C. isn't the only concern. State capitals across the country are facing threats of armed protests in the next few days. Former FBI Special Agent Brad Garrett joins me now for more on the security preparations underway. Brad, thanks for being here. You know, we heard for the first time today a preliminary plan saying the entire National Mall will be closed on Inauguration Day. Now, that's where people normally watch the inauguration. So what does that tell you about the level of these security threats and the level of preparation?
Well, I can tell you, I walked down 14th Street yesterday morning, and there was a 7-foot fence on each side of it. So that's 14 blocks from the Capitol. To your point, it basically covering the National Mall. So I think the real issue here is going to be that when you look at special events, whether it's a Super Bowl or anything else, there are these rings of security, and that you have to work your way through those rings to ultimately get to the Capitol, which in effect, if you're a protester, you're never going to make it through the first ring. So my sense would be if we have a conflict, a violent conflict, it's going to be in that outer perimeter between probably the D.C. police, maybe the Capitol Police, maybe the Park Police, depending on where it is. But it's not going to be the day, if you're a protester, to try to do anything significant. Nothing close, obviously, to last Wednesday.
Well, that was my next question, actually, is what happens after Inauguration Week, and how do you differ between, or tell the difference, I should say, as an investigator, between people who just want to make their voices heard versus people who want to be violent?
Well, exactly. And the problem, obviously, is that last Wednesday, you had people basically that were, the security was so poor, they were able to push through it. There was no backup. My concern is that, let's say we go a week or two, and then an armed group decides to take on one of these state capitals once the security is reduced. I mean, I think they could really cause some serious damage before they were stopped. And let's face it, all people who want to commit violent acts tend to look for soft targets. And I think, ideally, that's going to be a state capitol.
And Brad, it's been over a week now since that siege on the Capitol building. When you look at the arrests made so far and the evidence seized so far, what kind of insight can you draw on how this happened?
So you have a number of groups with sort of diverse philosophies, from the Oath Keepers to the Proud Boys to QAnon. Do they talk to each other? Perhaps. There were a number of people at the siege that were talking on walkie-talkies. They had on body armor. They were very directed, almost like military or law enforcement, perhaps trained folks. And they were there for serious business. The rest of the folks, I think, just sort of went along for the ride. And I think as you see the next attempt to commit a violent act, they'll even be more organized. Do they get some sort of outside or foreign influence? I don't know. But all of this stuff the FBI and others are looking at, obviously with collecting intelligence to hopefully head off a future attack. But let's face it, they're going to encrypted apps, and I will tell you that's a big step backward for law enforcement because it's that much more difficult to get court orders and actually start listening to what people are saying.
So there's been a lot of talk now about social media banning President Trump, for example, and many others. Do you think that's a bad idea or hurts investigators' ability to keep track of some of these people?
Well, I think it's probably was needed to be done because it gave them basically a public, wide open forum to recruit, to state whatever they wanted to state. And now you're going to end up, or we have ended up, in them in Telegram and other sorts of encrypted apps where I think groups probably will focus, whether it's whatever group it might be, let's just say the Oath Keepers. And so in that encrypted app, they're probably going to start planning to do whatever they're going to do next. And so unless you have sources in that group, I mean, law enforcement obviously has to come up with probable cause to be able to actually get a court order to listen or look at what they're writing to each other. So I see it as a potential problem, not insurmountable, but it's going to be an issue.
All right, hopefully not insurmountable. Brad Garrett, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.